Hello, everybody. Welcome back, family and friends of the internet. Boy, do we need to talk about this, folks. Okay, everybody, you know the routine. As you pop on, hit the like button, make sure you are subscribed, drop to the chat, tell me who you are and where you are watching from. Let's just start this by beating the algorithm while I jabber away for the first 2 minutes. And if you don't want to listen to that when you pop on, just fast forward to where the video starts at minute 2, because what I'm trying to do is beat the algorithm from shadow banning my entire video, which is titled, It Is All Smoke and Mirrors. So how do social media influencers make their money? And I think this is important, as you are the people who create wealth for others on social media. Okay, so this is like super important for you to understand how money is made on social media. First off, things that catch your attention, the title and the thumbnail. All right. They have to catch your attention out of millions of content creators in the entirety of the world. The deal is they have to keep you watching for longer than 30 seconds on YouTube for it to count as actually another person watching their video. So if you drop off within the first 30 seconds, that's not actually counted in the algorithm for the content creator. The longer you watch, the further the video or content is pushed by the algorithm. Even if you push the dislike button, that'll still push the video, right? If you comment, it helps push the video. But how does the content creator make money off of you watching the video? The longer you watch, the more commercials you're exposed to. So they get paid by how many commercials you watch and how long you watch those commercials. They get paid by the 1,000. So for every 1,000 viewers that watched longer than 30 seconds, they get a set amount of money. Now, when YouTube demonetized me, I had hit that range where I could make anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 in a month. And I have almost 104,000 subscribers. So when you're watching content and somebody's got 500,000 subscribers and 300,000 people watched that video for longer than 30 seconds, on average, they made about $4,000 to $6,000 on that one video. So if you are somebody that's watching a content creator that has never been demonetized, that means they're not talking about topics that YouTube won't allow them to talk about. And they're probably not telling you the truth. They're telling you what the organized news lunatics, propaganda. They're giving you the propaganda. The reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of people were talking about how they saw content creators saying that Iran and Israel were denying the ceasefire. And I saw a few things like that too, and we're going to talk about that. But the reason those people pushed those headlines and those topics is because it went against what everybody else was talking about. They knew it was going to catch people's attention. They knew you were going to sit there and listen to it. Yeah. So even if it's not true, and only one news organization put that information out there, that content creator ran with it because they knew it was going to make a whole lot of money for them. Why am I telling you this? Be careful who you listen to. If the content creators you are listening to have never been demonetized, then chances are, folks, if they have more than 250,000 subscribers and have never been demonetized, never had a video taken down, never had a strike, then they're in somebody's pocket, because you don't get that big without help. All right. So if you were unaware, we were demonetized for the third time. And the way that people are helping support our channel is helping us grow. You're hitting the like button. You're subscribing. We're so close to 104,000 subscribers. People are signing up for our newsletters and joining us on Zooms, which we had one last night, and it was a great success. So if you'd like to support us, you can look in the top of comments at the end of this video, and there will be ways that you can row in our boat. But let's jump into this. What is really going on with Israel and with Iran? Because I do think it's important we talk about this. President Trump was furious, and he should be. Why was he furious, Sam? Because again, there were people out there, there were sites, and President Trump posted his frustration on Truth Social saying, the sites that we hit in Iran were totally destroyed, and everyone knows it. Only the fake news would say anything different in order to try and demean as much as possible. And even they say they were pretty well destroyed. He went on to single out specific networks and members of the media, he says, are not willing to tell the truth. Working especially hard on this falsehood is Allison Cooper of Fake News, CNN, Dumb Brian L. Roberts, chairman of Comcast, Johnny Carl of ABC Fake News, and always the losers again, Comcast, NBC Fake News. It never ends with these sleazebags in the media. And that's why their rankings and ratings are an all-time low with zero credibility. I have to agree. And the reason I feel that way is I listen to how they word things, and then I do my research. So I am very well aware of the fact that under President Obama, he changed some laws that protected American citizens from propaganda by the news media inside of America. It's well known that the CIA has a project called Project Mockingbird that encompassed the New York Times, the Washington Post, all of these major newspapers that were giving information to the world from as early as the 1920s all the way to the 1980s, and it was propaganda. The CIA, PBS was part of it, BBC was part of it. It just went on and on and on. Well, President Obama changed some laws that protected you and I from fake media. And ever since Obama was in office, we have seen a drastic uptick of these people they're not even journalists anymore. They read. Today, in the news, breaking news, they just read. Nobody leaves behind the camera. Nobody goes out on the front lines and reports what's actually happening anymore. I'm going to say this. When I spoke to my son who is in the Middle East yesterday, I was sobbing. I'm like, I just saw the news. Oh my gosh. I mean, this is like early morning, right? I'm like, oh my God, they hit the bases. Are you okay? Are you okay? And he goes, Mom, listen to me. Turn the news off. Good morning, Kent. He said, turn the news off, Mama. They get it wrong every time. He said, we were watching the news. He's in the Middle East, folks, on a base, and they were laughing. He said, we cannot believe they're telling the American people this. So I just want you guys to understand that. I don't get paid to do what I'm doing right now. I do this because truth should come out. It's ridiculous that people waste their time listening to people who probably know the information they're giving you is incorrect, but they're giving it to you because they're making a killing off of scaring the living bejesus out of you. I just think it's a shame. President Trump went on to single out specific networks and members of the media who he says were not telling the truth. And I agree with that. Donald Trump told NBC News that a ceasefire between Israel and Iran would be unlimited and that was going to go forever. Now, I like my president, but I also know my Bible. And I understand that a ceasefire is not going to go on forever. And that, within the next couple of years, we're going to see it pop off again. And then the Antichrist is going to walk out on the stage. Trump's call to the networks came hours after the president lashed out at the network and other news media outlets as fake news with zero credibility. He had been upset over their reporting on whether the U.S. strikes on Iran completely destroyed the nuclear sites, and he should be. What America did with those strikes were beautiful. We sent planes that were undetected in the air for over 18 hours without stopping. These pilots did not stop. You know what that means? That means they urinated in bags, folks. It means they refueled in the air, folks. It means that they crossed multiple countries and oceans without being detected by anybody's radar and or satellites. And then from hundreds, if not over 1,000 miles in the sky, they dropped bombs on what would have looked like a washing machine to them. That's how high up they were. And then they made it home without engaging with any enemy in the sky. If that doesn't impress you, then you don't understand the effort and the training that went into that attack. Yeah, amen. Somebody said only the best of the best. There was no DEI there. Amen. I totally agree with that. You didn't see somebody hired because of the color of their skin or their anything else. The people that flew those planes and were part of that attack were legitimately what merit-based hiring does. It makes the best of the best. Now, we have to talk. New York, all my people that watch me from New York, you guys are in serious trouble, man. You guys, and I really, please, Lord, if you know anybody in New York, please email them, text them this video, tell them to start it around the 12-minute mark. They need to hear what I've got to say to them. There is a gentleman running right now in New York for governor. Folks, his name is Madini, I cannot say it. Anyway, and do you guys also remember the other day when the New York city's comptroller, Brad Lander, got arrested at the ICE facility? And I showed that to you, and I told you this is what Democrats do. They disrupt ICE at an ICE facility or an ICE hearing, and they scream and they holler and they get arrested and they get on social media and they're like, look at me disrupting and doing the right thing. And it gets all the crazy lunatics to vote for them. It's free advertisement. Well, he's also running. You know what I'm saying? And it's shocking to me. So listen up.
Socialist has made significant strides in the race for New York City mayor, closing a 30-point gap behind frontrunner Andrew Cuomo just ahead of Tuesday's Democratic primary. Mamdani, an aspiring rapper turned state politician, has captivated young voters with his engaging social media presence and progressive platform, which includes plans to freeze rent and eliminate fares on city buses. His campaign received a boost this month, with endorsements from prominent progressives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders, transforming what seemed a predictable election into a competitive showdown. Cuomo, the former governor who resigned following sexual harassment allegations, faces scrutiny as Mamdani challenges his establishment image.
So yeah,
Mamdani,
an ex-governor running for mayor of New York City is now running against a Muslim extremist. This guy, Madani, his dad, has been pumping money into this free Palestine stuff and talking about, getting rid of millions of Jews. Well, New York has a very high concentration of Jews there. 1.4 million Jews, or 12% of the total population of New York City, is Jewish. And I'm going to tell you now, you guys better make sure that this Islamic radicalist does not get in. I'm telling y'all, it's going to be trouble for New York City if that man gets in. 100%. Going to be serious trouble. Next thing I want to talk about. Let me turn this down and let you just see if you guys can read this. There was a mass stabbing in Paris at a concert. Over 150 young women across Paris, across France, were stabbed with needles, injected with something. Some of them began to feel funny afterwards and went to the hospital. So far, they cleared them all, but they are still not sure what they were stabbed with. It came across social media. It was promoted. The stabbing and injecting of innocent women came across social media. Understand this. France has fallen to the Islamic regime. French women are being kidnapped and raped at an unprecedented amount, especially the white ones. You have a bunch of third world South African refugees and immigrants, and you've got a whole lot of Islamic terrorists over there. And now there's this movement to inject these women with something, and they don't know what it is. The assault was planned on social media. It was spurred on by hate of women across social media. So please don't allow the crazy, insane news to tell you that it wasn't. Let me read this to you guys. It says, arrest in France after scores reported being attacked with syringes at a street music festival. Interior Ministry says 145 people across the country reported being stabbed with needles at a music festival. French police have detained 12 suspects after 145 people reported being pricked with syringes during the country's annual street music festival this weekend. Millions of people took to the streets across France on Saturday evening, with authorities reporting unprecedented crowds in Paris. The feminist influencer Abrégio Sore warned online before the festival that calls have been made on social media for women to be targeted with syringes. It is not certain where such posts would have been made or by whom. The Interior Ministry said 145 victims across the country had reported being stabbed. The Paris police reported 13 cases just within the capital. Officials did not say if these were cases of so-called needle spiking with date rape drugs like Rohypnol or GHB, used by attackers to render victims confused or unconscious and vulnerable to a sexual attack. Some victims were taken to the hospital for toxicological tests. In Paris, investigations were opened after 3 people, including a 15-year-old female and an 18-year-old male, reported being stabbed in separate incidences across Paris. 12 suspects have been arrested, the Interior Ministry said. Among them, 4 people in the southwestern city of Angoulême, suspected of having targeted 50 victims between the 4. 2 men were arrested in the center of northeastern city of Metz on suspicion of syringe attacks. The regional public broadcaster France 3 reported that one man had been caught with a syringe and a woman who complained of being stabbed with one had recognized the other. The local prosecutor's office said the alleged victims were believed to be under 18. Let me repeat that. The victims have all mainly been under 18. One of the alleged suspects, a man aged 20, so a child molester, was previously known to police for his violence. Several women had complained of being stabbed with syringes in Rowan and in Normandy. One woman was taken to a hospital with pains on her left arm where she believed a needle had been stuck into her. In the western city of Tours, 13 women complained to fire services on duty at a music event that someone had been pricking them with syringes. There was a wave of reports in 2022 about alleged syringe attacks against women and men in clubs, bars, and music events, even theaters. Oh. More than 370 people were detained during this weekend's nationwide music festival on various charges, including nearly 90 people in Paris. 14 participants in the festivals were seriously injured, including a 17-year-old hospitalized after being found sitting on the street with stab wounds to the lower abdomen. 13 members of law enforcement were also injured. In other words, Paris, the beach of Normandy, is a cesspool. It's a third world. There's no going back. They would have to mass deport 3 or 4 million people in that tiny country alone just to even get a semblance of normality back to that very historically beautiful country. The people of Paris are under attack. Their children are being stabbed. What was in the syringe? Was it AIDS? Because let me make this very clear to you guys. Hepatitis B, AIDS, all of those diseases, they can take up to 3 to 6 months to show up in your bloodstream. Anybody that works in the medical field will tell you that. If they get poked with a syringe, they have to keep being retested for up to 6 months just to be sure their body doesn't develop a disease. These were all under 18, and I guarantee you the majority of them were white. I guarantee it. Or Parisian. I mean, I say white, lighter skinned. They were lighter skinned. I saw some of the pictures. Almost every one of them were lighter skinned women. Let me see, folks, what else I wanted to go over with you guys real quick. Okay, so for the ones of you that do not understand what has happened with Iran and why, it was actually a really good idea to drop bombs on these sites because a lot of people, you don't know history. You're in your 30s or your 40s. Unfortunately, there are some social media influencers and basically in their late 50s and 60s that are just ignorant of why we did it and, can't imagine why Trump would drop a bomb. Yeah, thank you, Renee. Renee said that is true about the testing. As it goes on 1 year, then you have to be tested again at 2 years, then again at 5 years to make sure you've not developed a disease from a needle prick. Number one, it was the 1979 revolution when Iranian radical Muslim extremists, similar to the Marxist Democrats that are rioting in LA and across America right now, they rioted, set fire to, terrorized, and destroyed businesses and civilians, and overthrew the Shah of Iran. This leader was installed and supported by the United States. I admit he was not elected by we the people, but he at least allowed certain freedoms to the Iranian people, especially women. And I told you guys that. I did a video the other day and told you that we have not always had problems with Iran. In the 1800s, folks, we built universities over there. People in Iran were Persian. Beautiful culture, beautiful people. A lot of them were Christians. Then in the 1950s, there was a color revolution by the CIA and the United Kingdom. What is that? M618 or whatever they call their secret service, their intelligence people, and they overthrew the democratic elected president of Iran. From that moment on, the extremist Islamic State took the country over. So I'm reading from 1979 on, okay? During this revolution, these radical Muslim extremists illegally invaded sovereign American territory at the American embassy in Tehran. There they held American workers, 100 of them, hostage for over a year. During this time, the Democrat president, Jimmy Flipping Carter, attempted diplomatic methods with them, even long after it was obvious they had no interest in diplomatic solutions. 1 year, these Americans were tortured, raped, and kept in terror from their families on American sovereign land. One year where Democrat leadership in the United States failed to take real action. Only once, towards the end, did they even try a rescue mission that was a complete and total failure, resulting in U.S. helicopters crashing in the desert and American soldiers killed, tortured, drugged through the streets, and weaponry destroyed. In 1981, American hostages were released after 444 days in captivity. Their release coincided with the inauguration of a U.S. president elected on Peace Through Strength platform, Ronald Reagan. I was at the person that's writing this. I was at the inauguration when it was announced the hostages were in the air. They were released because the Iranians knew Ronald Reagan would not seek diplomatic options for their release. Their nation would be wiped from the map. In 1987, the U.S. reinstated sanctions against Iran due to terrorist actions throughout the region. In 1995, these sanctions were increased to include businesses dealing with this terrorist government in Iran. In 2006, the United Nations sanctioned Iran for failing to comply with the UN resolution demanding that Iran halt its uranium enrichment program. These sanctions included oil and gas embargoes, as well as financial freezes. In subsequent years, additional sanctions were imposed due to their failure to comply with the worldwide Atomic Energy Governing Body. Their failure to allow inspections of nuclear facilities and their continued push forward to develop nuclear weapons caused more sanctions. Under Democrat President Barack Hussein Obama, born Barry Cerrito and raised by Muslim grandparents, $1.7 billion in U.S. cash was delivered in secret overnight on a plane loaded with pallets of cash. This was 2016, and it was clear that the Iranians could use this influx of cash to increase the development of their nuclear weapons pursuit. After Democrat John Kerry, at the instruction of Democrat Barack Obama, negotiated a deal with the Iranians to basically allow them free rein to pursue nuclear weapons to use against Israel, the U.S., and other enemies of Iran. In 2012, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, another Democrat, sold Iran 20% of the United States stockpile of weapons-grade uranium, the key component to making a nuclear weapon. Upon Republican President Donald Trump's first election, he immediately ended this to prevent the destruction of the U.S., Israel, and nuclear weapons in the hands of extreme terrorists. He immediately reimposed sanctions that had been lifted by the Biden regime. Since then, money that had been provided by the world through the JCPOA to help the people of Iran was used by the terrorists in charge to build their military and specifically to enhance uranium production. Year after year, Iran has refused to comply with diplomatic methods or sanctions or UN, United Nations, demands for transparency in their nuclear weapons development. Year after year, Marxist Democrats with Muslim ties have continued to allow and support and even encourage the pursuit of nuclear weapons they would use to destroy the United States and any other enemy, as terrorists often do. Trump's successful bombing of these facilities has finally put a stop to their nuclear weapons. Israel's success with eliminating the terrorist leaders have now made Iran a trembling skeleton of a country committed to terrorism around the world. If you do not now understand the actions and that they are the culmination of 40 years of attempted diplomacy and Marxist Democrat enabling, then you aren't interested in truth. The world is a safer place due to this action. We are not at war, and we will not be. This action made sure there would be no nuclear war. Maybe you don't know this, but the people who are not Muslim Islamic extremists are currently celebrating in the streets of Iran. If you did not know this, Iranians who have not been home to their motherland in 40 years because they were Christians or Jews or something else are so very thankful that they now can have a Democrat election and put whom they want in there. So, folks, look, I'm going to have to run. I am leaving for Seattle to see my daughter tomorrow. We will be having a Zoom again very soon. If you are on our newsletter and you support our channel, just know you're going to be grouped up by state in the next week or two. Be looking for those emails. If you'd like to support what we do here, you will notice I have no super chat enabled because I speak truth and YouTube stole my money from me 3 months ago, and then they denied my attempt to be back in the partnership program. If you look in the top of comments, even if you just send $1, we would be so very, very thankful, folks. What I do is important. I try to educate people. And that's very different than somebody that's just trying to feed you a line of bull. I'm trying to give you what really happens in the world so you understand with the mind of an adult instead of one of a child. If you are being ruled, if you're going back and forth on what you believe, it's because you don't really know the truth and you're listening to other people try to emotionally manipulate you. I have no skin in the game, baby. I have other things to do. I just wrote a book that's fixing to be out to be purchased. I own a farm. I'm debt free and I have a family. I could be doing 1,000 other things, but the Lord has called me to come here and show you the real truth. If there's a content creator out there telling you, as a libertarian, a Democrat, or Republican, that what Trump did was wrong, shame on Trump, and he should have told Congress, and we should have talked about this as Americans. I'm just curious, what skin in the game do these people have, for one? And by chance, like, how much money are they making off the videos of them complaining? How many subscribers do they have? Yeah, I'm just asking. Because as an educated person and a son in the military, even as that, I could understand why there was a need to stop Islamic radicalists from having nuclear weapons. Again, I've said this multiple videos. If the United Kingdom, if England doesn't do something very soon about their Muslim problem, England is going to be America's greatest enemy in the next 20 years. Think about that. Iran has a chance. The Iranian people have a chance to take their country back. They have tried so many times. And thousands of just regular Muslims and regular Christians were killed because of these Islamic terrorists. If you did not see the video I did the other day about how Iranian women looked and dressed before the Islamic terrorists got in there, please go watch that. Up until the 1970s, the Iranian women had total freedom. They didn't have to wear a scarf or a hijab or any of that stupid crap. They were educated. They owned their own businesses. And then here comes these Islamic freaks that won't let you have a dog and wants you not to be able to be seen in public without a man and your face covered. You can't be for women's rights. You can't be for women and be a hard left Democrat or even a Democrat at this point. Because everything those people believe are anti-woman. We fought so hard to bring women up in this country, and now we're just going to throw it away. And let me tell you something else. Did you guys know that it was Democrats that were the cause of the Tulsa? Do y'all know what I'm talking about? In Oklahoma, when they burned, the Tulsa County Democrats call out racism within the parties past and present for their part of burning out the blacks in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Did y'all know that? It was Democrats, because it was KKK, the white supremacist, that killed all those black Wall Street and all of that. But let me ask you this. Do you know how the blacks got to Tulsa, Oklahoma? Because the Choctaw and other Indian tribes had black slaves. Yeah. Funny how real history is hidden from you. My ancestors were enslaved, but their freedom came at a price for others. Like most Americans, Black Americans, I come from a family with a history that includes enslavement. But my people were not held hostage by whites, but by Native Americans. Yeah. In Indian Territory, the Chickasaws, the Choctaws, the Cherokees, the Creeks, and the Seminoles all enslaved Black people within their Indian nations. When the southern states seceded, causing a civil war, these slaveholding tribal members fought with the Confederacy. After the war, the United States used the fact that some members of these tribes fought for the Confederacy as an excuse to extract land cessions from them. Americans had turned their eyes further west, and Indian Territory now looked like an attractive place for settlement. These land cessions were cemented in the Treaties of 1866, in which 5 slaveholding nations agreed to emancipate their slaves, give them all the rights of tribal citizens, and provide them with the land allotments. So they had to pay reparations. The Native Americans had to pay reparations to Black slaves. I'm just saying, the same treaties that reneged on the United States promise to the Chickasaw and Choctaw nations to never disturb them in their now Western home. It's funny, a Black person's writing this, complaining about how the American government, ran by white supremacists, took land from the Native Americans that they said they never would, but they did that to force them to free Black slaves. You can't, Democrats are ignorant. It says, anyway, making them part of the only group of African descent in the world to receive what we might see as a form of direct, large-scale reparations from the federal government. Anyway, they go on, it says, for many Native people, these same foundations represented only destruction and destruction of many aspects of Native culture, like multi-generational living and communal land ownership, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the Tulsa County Democrat Party released a statement on Friday acknowledging the party's role in upholding white supremacy and called for monetary reparations to the Black community. Yeah, I thought y'all want to know that. That's how the Blacks were in Oklahoma, because they had hundreds, if not thousands, of enslaved Black people were on the Trail of Tears. Most of you didn't know that either, did you? So if you are Black and you have family in Oklahoma, you need to do your DNA. It's a very good chance that you are not Black. And if you're a Native American, you better do yours too, friend. Because see, when my family did their DNA, I realized that I have Bantu in me. And I also have Gypsy. My dad, I'm like 6% Black. Don't look it, but I am. That's why I can't be racist. That's why I can say anything I want and nobody can say anything to me because I'm a strong Black woman. But my point is this, folks. Tribalism is stupid. If you're in America and you're a legal citizen, the only thing you need to be tribal to is America, not the color of your skin, not who you think your family is or your people are, because there's a good chance there's something in that woodshed that you didn't know about. Shoot, some of your grandpas might actually be your daddies. Dead serious. You'd be amazed when you do your DNA what you find out. Anyway, my point is this. The KKK was created by the Democrats. Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, all those Black people burned out and killed, the Democrat Party. Slave owners in the South, the plantation slave owners, Democrats. If you're on the Democrat plantation, get the hell off. Grow up and realize that your party's not the party of love. You people are about enslaving people. And that's what the open borders were. And we're tired of you, and we're going to fight you until all of our dying breaths. God bless you guys. I got things to do. I got to go pack. If you want to support our channel, look in the top of comments, because I promise nobody's going to tell you what I do. Love you guys. Be blessed.